Hello everybody, this is Mr. Robin. Welcome to episode number 1 of the South Carolina Gamecocks Dynasty Mode here on EA Sports College Football 25. I cannot believe I just said that sentence. We're here in college football for the first time in 11 years. We got a game and I'm so excited to bring this series to you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm taking my alma mater, the school that I went to, and trying to build them into a powerhouse. Hope you guys are excited for it as I am. If you are, make sure you drop that like and you subscribe down below, especially if you're new here to the channel and you like Dynasty Mode content. That's what I'm going to do with this series, and that's what you're going to see more of here on the channel. So go ahead and drop that like and subscribe down below. But we're going to be going through a Dynasty Mode here with the Gamecocks. It's going to be a long process. It's going to be realistic. That's what the main ingredient here on the channel is. We're going to try to build this team up and be one of the powerhouses of the SEC, because it's not easy. One of the toughest conferences in football, and we're going to have to try to compete not only with our conference but also our state rival, the Clemson Tigers, who've always bested us in the past decade. So there's a lot of challenges that go along with bringing this school to the top, and I'm ready for it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start this Dynasty Mode up. I'm not sure what to really expect because this is my first time ever doing a Dynasty Mode here on the channel. As we're going to go ahead, I'm going to do offline Dynasty, and we're going to use the active roster. I have not even looked at our roster. I don't even know our ratings for the players yet. So all of this is a brand new surprise for us. So thank you guys so much for joining as well, and let's get into it. Alright, so off the rip, here are the settings I'm going to be using for my Dynasty Mode. I always do my series on the hardest difficulty, which in this game is Heisman. But since this is my first time playing college football really in forever, I am going to start an All-American, and then if it starts to get a little too easy, I will bump it up to Heisman in due time. But the rest, we're not going to go with coach firing, only CPU. I really don't want to get fired. We're going to be the Gamecocks. We're going to set everything to where it is currently. Injury, wear and tear, 15-minute quarters. Everything as realistic as possible. And I'm going to be controlling everything as the coach of the Gamecocks. So let's go ahead and advance on into the settings and the team selection. And obviously, it's no surprise we are going to be South Carolina. 85 overall, 85 offense, 86 defense. I feel like that's kind of high. Let's compare that to the other teams in the SEC. As if we were to go through this conference, you got Alabama, who's very good, despite no more Nick Saban. Arkansas is about lower than us. Auburn, they're always a team you got to watch out for. Florida, in that rich recruiting state of Florida. Mississippi State and the Cowbells, that's going to be fun. LSU is always a dominant team towards the top. Kentucky, who's given us fits in recent years. Obviously, you can't leave out Georgia, the best team in all of the land and our border rivals. So there's going to be hard to not only face them, but recruit against these teams as well. I mean, we're surrounded by recruiting juggernauts, and, we got to try to convince people to come to South Carolina. Missouri is a top 10 school. Oklahoma now in the SEC we got to worry about. Ole Miss is a top 5 school. There's us. Vanderbilt, that's usually the bottom dweller of the conference. Texas A&M in the hardest place to play now, and their field. Texas now also in the SEC, another top 3 school. And then Tennessee, who's always just lingering there. So we got plenty of competition here, but we're going to go with South Carolina. We're going to be the head coach, Chris Malaby. That does not look like Shane Beamer. So yeah, we're not going to be Chris Malaby. I'm going to create my new coach myself. So it looks like you have 3 options here: motivator, recruiter, and tactician in terms of what's going to help out your coach, and they all have their benefits. I'm going to go with the recruiter just because I feel like that's just going to be so beneficial in the SEC if we can get some sort of bump in our ability to just get these recruits coming here, maybe throw them a little bit more NIL money, you know what I'm saying? But no, we're going to go with the recruiter here as far as the kind of coach that we're going to be, and I'm going to go ahead and create our head coach. So here's the new head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks. It is Mr. Rob. Yes, he is taking over for Shane Beamer. Beamer ball is just going to go, I guess, somewhere else. So Mr. Rob will be the guy. We're going to be running basically the same things, though, as South Carolina. One thing I didn't really differ is the pipeline I made South Carolina. I'm not sure if I'm going to get more options there to change or build more pipelines, but I feel like for now the best option is our home state. So that will be our pipeline. Hopefully we can extend to Georgia, and if we can even make Florida a pipeline, I feel like that would just be very ideal. But we're going to just start with South Carolina. I am 6'200". That is, I would say, pretty accurate to say what I look like. I do have a beard. I didn't really see a guy with a beard that looked like me, but I don't got that baby face. So, but otherwise, that is pretty accurate. And we are going to be the new head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks, rolling with the polo. I don't want the sweater. Got to make it look fly. And here we are, a level 1 coach. Here is the history of our program. You can see, we had that dominant stretch from 11 to 13 with 3 straight 11-win seasons, and it has been a rocky road since then. Only 2 bowl games since that stretch. We're coming off a 5-7 season where we just play in such a tough conference where it's just so hard to compete, but we got it. Because our goal is to make a bowl game. We're going to hopefully do that this year. So we'll see what happens. We'll accept this contract, put our signature on the dotted line. All right, so here we are in the preseason. The first thing we're going to do is set up a recruiting board. I'm not going to go through all of that here because I feel like that is going to be very time consuming. I'll just do that off camera. But as soon as we start the season, week 1, week 2, I will be showing you guys the recruiting battles week by week by week. But in terms of the initial board, I will set that up off camera. I'm not going to mess with the conferences. I'm just going to leave them how they are. But here are your top stories. Looks like the preseason Heisman is in. Ollie Gordon of the Oklahoma State Cowboys is there. Shedeur Sanders, Quinshawn Judkins, Travis Hunter, and Carson Beck. The usual names. Beck, obviously we're going to have to face him this year. So he's a guy. And there's the other Heisman guys to take a look at. But I'm going to go ahead and set this recruiting stuff up. Let's actually go ahead and take a look at the team. First off, let's go ahead and view our roster and see what this team looks like. As here we are, we have an 89 overall at the top of our guy. And you can see the roster right here. It's a lot of seniors at the top, which just means we're going to have to replace these guys after this season. But let's go position by position, starting off with quarterback. The guy leading the way, it's going to be Lenoris Sellers. He is a redshirt freshman. No more Spencer Rattler here in South Carolina. It is going to be the Lenoris Sellers show. I wish they had his goggles. He has goggles in real life, and it's honestly pretty awesome. But a former 3-star recruit, he's only thrown 4 career passes, and he's going to be the guy that's tasked with leading this team for the foreseeable future. He's more of a scrambling type of quarterback, so we'll see if that maneuver offense around that. But he does develop at a faster than normal rate. So, by the time he's a senior, he could really be something. But very young quarterback, very young offense. That's not the strength of this team. And hopefully we can change that. Behind him, we got Robbie Ashford. He's a former Auburn Tiger transfer. Davis Bevel, and then Dante Reno. At halfback, the highest rated player on the team, Raheem Sanders, the former Arkansas Razorback, who was a big get in the transfer portal for South Carolina this year. Didn't really play a lot last year because of injury, but he was a first-team All-SEC running back just a couple of years ago. So we're really going to have to lean on him in terms of the offense this year. He is a star, and we're only going to have him for 1 season. So it's going to be on the back of Raheem Sanders, and we'll have to see if he can hold that load. Also behind him is Oscar Attaway III, another transfer at running back from North Texas, a former 2-star recruit. He's kind of the same mold as Sanders, so he'll spell him a little bit. We'll see probably a little bit of DJ Braswell as well, the former Georgia native. He's more of an elusive type back, so I don't want to just roll on the back of Sanders. If we can give him a break with Braswell, he's a redshirt sophomore, former 4-star recruit. I think that will help out as well. He'd be more of the shiftier kind of maneuvering halfback. And then you got Simon McAllister as well as Jawarn Howell. Fullback, we're not going to use that. Wide receiver, this is very much a group to be determined because there's not a lot of depth and not a lot of experience here. This is a very young group of receivers. The top rated guy is an 83, Jared Brown, a redshirt junior from Lilburn, Georgia, 3-star recruit. He is an impact dev as well, so that will help. But, very, very young group of receivers. He's more of a deep threat kind of guy. He's elusive. He's quick. You just got to get the ball in his hands. And I think we will be more of a quick passing kind of offense. So hopefully we can just get these guys in space. The guy I'm probably excited for the most, though, is sophomore Nick Harbor. 99 speed. Look at those intangibles. 99 speed, 99 excel. This guy, if you get the ball in his hands and some space, he could light up the football field. He's a former 5-star recruit, 6'5" as well. He's not your 5'10" speed demon. No, he's 6'5", 242. He can run down the field with lightning quick speed. He can box out. He can be that big target. Nick Harbor, redshirt sophomore. He was a big get in the recruiting cycle from the DC area a couple of seasons ago. And, we're going to hope that he's going to be the number one guy for sellers for at least the next few seasons. Behind him, we got Gage Lavardane, a senior as well. Him and Huggins Bruce will probably compete for playing time in the slot. They're more of your sure-handed kind of guys, not as fast as the top two. Delevion Campbell will also be on for just this season. Then we get very young, a freshman, DeBron Gatling, out of Alpharetta, Georgia, a 3-star recruit, who's there with the offense. Will probably not play a lot this year. He honestly might redshirt him this season. Then you got Evandrivius Jacobs, another freshman from Florida. He's more of a route runner kind of guy. Then you got Luke Doty, the quarterback turned wide receiver. Maybe you can get him involved in some trick plays. I feel like that would be very interesting in his final season. He can throw the football. He's a former quarterback, so might as well use that to our advantage. So don't be, counting out Luke Doty as a part of this offense despite being a 71 overall. Tight end, the top guy is Joshua Simon. I feel like he is probably the security blanket this season. He's a tight end who can get open. He's a vertical threat, 6'4", 243 with 81 speed. He's a redshirt senior. He's one of the older guys on this team, a leader of the offense. I think we're going to be counting on him a lot this season to get open. Now, he's only here for a season, but if we do have behind him, if he stays, Brady Hunt, who I think could be a nice 1-2 punch at tight end for this year, and I think he'll be ready next year to take over for that because he honestly might be better than Simon right now. Then you got Nick Elskins, Jr., and then Connor Cox as well. At tackle, the offensive line was a little bit of a struggle last year for the Gamecocks, but we're led by left tackle Tree Babalade, the sophomore from Maryland, a former 4-star recruit. He'll be the blindside watcher of Lenora Sellers. Just a big, strong 6'5", 325 hog molly to watch that blindside. Behind him, you got freshmen all up and down the board. At left guard, redshirt senior, the leader of this group is Ja'Kai Moore from Virginia. More of an agile kind of guy, uses more of his quickness inside. We are very much a zone running type of scheme. You'll rarely see this team get underneath center. So those zone kind of movements, we need those interior linemen who are, a little bit quicker with their feet, and Ja'Kai Moore could be that, especially if we want to run on the football a lot this season. Vershawn Lee at the middle, another senior, led by another one, Torricelli Simpkins, so you'll probably see him a little bit. Another agile kind of guy with 91 strength, 91 awareness. That's what you want to see at center position. Behind him, though, redshirt sophomore Ryan Brubaker. We'll probably see him take over next season. Right guard, got a couple of 80s. Trovon Bowe and Kamar Bell will probably lead the way there, and see who can take over from that position. But we got a pretty good offensive line, I will say, for at least this season. Redshirt sophomore, red tackle, Kason Henry from Marietta, Georgia as well. Again, trying to get into that Georgia area, a former 3-star recruit from the metro Atlanta area. Then we move on to defense, which is more of the strength of this team. Elijah Davis leads the way at left end. He's more of a power rusher from Wagner, South Carolina, a senior at 6'3", 275. Defense can be kind of hard in college, so I'm going to be counting on these guys to get to the quarterback, try to disrupt the backfield against opposing teams. Then you also got Jatarius Greer and Gilbert Edmond there. At right end, Tonka Hemingway. This is the guy I'm excited to have. He's going to be a leader of this defense, minus the amazing name. He's a very good player with 89 strength, 92 awareness, very good play rec. He's got 89 power move as well, finesse to 71, 94 block shed. He'll definitely be more in the run game this season. But then the guy behind him, Dylan Stewart, the freshman, the biggest recruit for the Gamecocks this offseason, a 5-star player. I'm surprised he only has normal development. I feel like he should have way higher than that. But he was a big get for the Gamecocks from the DMV area. He will be counted on more as the pass rusher at right end. I can see them two kind of rotating in and out, but Dylan Stewart will definitely see the field this season. Then behind him, you got DeAndre Jules and a Monkel Goodwin. Defensive tackle, a couple of 80s at the top, TJ Sanders and Alex Huntley from Blightwith, South Carolina. That's where I actually used to work. And then Nick Barrett, Ben Conway, and Tracy Milton. Getting into the linebacker side of things, redshirt senior Kyle Kennard from Atlanta, Georgia is there. Another former 3-star recruit who has, faster than normal development. He's, I would say, more of a run defender though, which, especially in college, I like to see that not be the case. But we do run very much a 3-3-5 offense a lot of the time, so we're going to see 3 linebackers. So we need Kennard to potentially get better in that regard. But he could be more of that linebacker who plays closer to the ball. Middle linebacker, Debo Williams. He is going to be the captain of the defense, the redshirt senior with 83 speed, good play rec, good tackling. He needs to fly sideline to sideline for us this season. A former 2-star recruit. He's, very much outperformed that rating, and that's very good to see. So I'm happy to have him for another year. But if you look at this middle linebacker core, top 3 guys are all redshirt seniors. Demetrius Knight, Mohamed Kaba. The next guy is a freshman, Jair Johnson. He's going to be counted on a lot more in his next couple of seasons. A 4-star recruit from the Norfolk, Virginia area. You'll at least have this season to learn behind Debo Williams, but he's going to be asked to take over next year. At right outside linebacker, you have Bam Martin Scott. He's a pass coverage linebacker. He's going to be more of that off-ball kind of weak side linebacker who'll be asked more to cover, while the other side is playing closer to the line. And then behind him, you got Jerron Wills and Bryce Reeves. At corner, this is where it gets a little shaky. The top guy is an 81 overall O'Donnell, from Sumter, South Carolina, 6'1". He's got good size, a little bit smaller of a frame, with an 81 overall at the top corner. This is an SEC conference that has a ton of good receivers, and our top guy has 80-man, 80 zone. So it's going to be a little bit rough in the passing game when we get to conference, and we got to expect that. We need some of these guys to step up, and he's a redshirt senior. Then we're also going to have to rely on redshirt freshman Vicari Swain from Carlton, Georgia. He redshirted last season, but he's going to be asked to step into a starting role this year. He is a former 4-star recruit, so, he has the talent to do it, but it's going to be a lot to ask for a freshman in the SEC. And then your nickel guys, which you're going to see a lot this season, Emory Floyd and Judge Collier there, who will probably compete for that position. Looks like Collier has the better man, but the better zone will go to Emory Floyd. So we'll have to see, depending on, I think, what kind of strategy do we want to use, which one will play more. Free safety, DQ Smith will be there from the Columbia, South Carolina area. Grown and raised, staying close to home. He's a junior, so we'll have him for a couple of years. And that strong safety, Nick Amenawari, who's a guy I'm very excited to have on this team. He's a guy who has a lot of pro potential from Irmo, South Carolina. 6'3", 218. He's got good speed at 91. He's got pretty good coverage ability. He can get in the box if needed. 74 strength. He's a junior too, so if he doesn't go pro, he could potentially be in the 90s if he stays. Jalen Kilgore is there, though, as nice backup. He is probably ready to take the field in a bigger role, and I could honestly see him playing in some nickel packages if he wanted to get big. So don't count him out as well. Then you got his, twin brother, Gerald Kilgore, also there as well. Kicker, no Parker White. It is Mason Love, a 69 overall kicker, a freshman, so it's going to be very interesting how we do the kicking game. And then senior will be Kai Kroger, who's more of an all-SEC type of punter. That is the Gamecocks. That's going to be in year number 1. I'll do the red shirts and the depth charts off camera, but depth chart, let's just take a look at what the generic one is. It's probably what I'll roll with, but it'll probably be most of the guys that you just saw listed in their overall, minus maybe a couple changes here or there based off schemes and stuff like that. But we'll take a look at our schedule now. I'm going to hit custom schedule. I'm not going to change anything, but this is the schedule that we're going to have this season. We'll start off at home against Old Dominion, which is a very good easing game for yours truly because I have not played this game yet, so that's a good first game for us. But then it gets tough right out the gate. We got at Kentucky in our first SEC clash, and then we got home against LSU, who's going to be our first-ranked opponent currently. And then we got Akron, and then we get a nice little week off before the absolute gauntlet starts. Look at this gauntlet we got in the middle of the season. Home against Ole Miss, at Alabama, at Oklahoma, we get at least a week off, and then we have Texas A&M. That's 4 top teams in this conference that we have back to back with 1 week in between. And then we got Vanderbilt, and then we go right back to Missouri at home in the Battle of Columbia. And then we have SEC Southeast, which I don't know if I'll actually play that game. I'll probably simulate that game, but that's our FCS opponent. And then we'll travel to Clemson to end the season with the Palmetto Series rivalry. So this is a tough schedule for the Gamecocks. You know, if we make bowl eligibility, I honestly think that would be a win for us. Let me know in the comments section below what do you think our record will be. But I think that's going to do it for this episode. Just kind of get you guys into the team, introduced. Next episode will be week number 1. Let's actually take a look at the preseason top 25, shall we? But here's a look at what the rankings look like. Georgia is obviously the team to beat. Ohio State, Texas, Oregon now in the Big Ten, Ole Miss, Alabama, Penn State, Notre Dame, Michigan, the defending champions, Missouri, Florida State, Utah, LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Arizona, Clemson, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Louisville, Kansas, NC State, Miami, Texas A&M, and the USC Trojans round out the top 25. We do not have any other votes either. I did not expect us to, but that's what the rankings look like. I haven't fully solidified what I want to do with the rankings in terms of the games around the country, but I want to make this a very immersive Dynasty mode. I want to get you guys involved with everything going on around the country. This is going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait to bring this series to you guys and just make this the biggest Dynasty mode on YouTube. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys are ready for the ride like I am. If you could, make sure you drop that like and you subscribe down below, especially if you want more Dynasty mode content. This is Mr. Rob, and I'll see you in the next one.